I'm going to keep cue cards so I don't get too off tangent here. Usually I like to not have anything in my hands, so hopefully that'll work out for everybody. And also keep it under an hour, because I know you guys have other things you probably need to be doing today. So, first of all, I'd like to thank you for coming, and I'd like to thank Margaret and the OIT Society of Women Engineers for having me today. Little something for our I just thought the first was cute. A little gift card there. And basically, if I'd had a little more time, I would have, I brought with me just in case you're interested afterwards, sandpans, just something fun to play with. When it's winter time, like moisturizers, it's peach. So I can always play with that at the end. But I always think, you know, when you're shaking people's hands, you should be doing it with confidence. And if your hands are dry, and your knuckles are kind of cracked, and your hand just feels kind of gross, you're really not going to put your hand out and give that nice solid greeting. So that's why I brought it along, just as a fun little demo. And just to let you know that I'm not here to sell anything. We have a non-solicitation policy with Mary Kay. I'm here as an image consultant, but I am a Mary Kay representative. So if you're interested in private consultation, I'm available afterwards to schedule appointments. But that's completely secondary. Brief overview of what I'm going to cover today, and just to let you know, Margaret and I kind of talked beforehand to get an idea of what she was looking for. We kind of came up with the thought that image is more than being skin deep. Usually it's the first thing people think of, but your professional image is more than that, much more than that. So I will start with the obvious, the exterior. I can then focus more on the 6 inches between your ears. I know that may sound silly, but you'll know what I'm talking about in a second. And finally return to examine what we project outwardly to others. In the end, I think that's probably the most important part and probably the most neglected one. And at the end, we'll have a few minutes for questions, just in case you have questions you'd like to ask. And of course, I don't know if I saw over there, I brought a couple of door prizes to incentivize you to stick around to the end. You know. And if you need to, there are references on that handout. I have plenty of them. My contact information, basically where I pull some of my research from, as well as personal experiences as a beauty consultant. And I was a lab tech. I don't know if Margaret gave me a chance to learn a little bit about me, but I was a lab tech for 8 years and then moved into the IT industry as a project liaison. And since then have decided to completely change gears. And it's a long story, I won't bore you with it, but I'm now a beauty consultant with Mary Kay and moving into directorship. So I enjoy the teaching more than the selling, as you can imagine. And yes, I am planning on getting a green Cadillac. Everyone asks that one. Other than that, if you have questions that you want to ask, but maybe not in front of everyone, there's a survey link at the top, and that's specifically for feedback on my talk today. Feel free to be brutally honest with me, but there's also a place if you want to leave your question and contact information. I can reach out to you privately, and give you a more thorough answer that's appropriate. So what comes to mind when you think about image? Is it a stereotype or a brand, or maybe something a little less tangible? I advise you to consider that your personal image is your personal brand, and it's more than what you're wearing. I mean, yes, obviously your makeup, your clothing, your various accessories, your car, your business card, those are all important, and probably the first thing people evaluate when they meet you. But when I hate to admit it, people will judge you. You're probably going to find that the first impression is made within seconds of meeting you. Really, less than a minute. And I know that, again, can be kind of harsh. But in this day and age, we have to think quickly. We have to be on our feet. And we have to be understanding that people are always observing us. So it's advisable to review beforehand, before a job interview, or before your first few days at work, when you're networking or meeting with a client. Kind of mentally prepare yourself. But bear these in mind, because they can also apply to your everyday situations. So we're going to just start really quickly with the exterior. This is the more obvious one. Do you feel that your hair and your skin project the image that you want it to? If not, maybe it is time to consult a stylist or an actual, image consultant. They are out there. And, sit down and decide what is the look you're going for and how do you need to accomplish it. As one of my directors loves to say, if your hair isn't slimming, either cut it, dye it, or buy more of it, but whatever you do, change it. I do not wear the hair I used to have as a 10-year-old girl in grade school. I completely changed that look when I went to college, and yet again, long since afterwards. Just, you don't wear the same look forever. You tend to outgrow it, and it's usually an appropriate reason why. And I'm kind of going to talk about briefly, but not too much. People don't think about this. Hopefully, you're not one of these people. Don't tell me if you haven't washed your face in a week. I don't want to know. But hygiene's important, and it's a subtle thing, but it is important. But also, not just to look good, smell nice, but your skin is one of the largest organs in your body. It is your first line of defense against pretty much your entire environment. And it actually can improve minimizing downtime due to illness if you take good care of yourself. You know, you're young, you all seem physically fit, that's excellent. Sometimes, though, your career will work at you, and to the point that you don't take the time to take care of yourself, and over time you look back in the mirror and be like, what happened? So I advise you to keep maintaining whatever fitness program, whatever skincare regimen you're using. Don't neglect it. It actually helps minimize aging. It helps keep you healthier on the inside, longevity, and I feel like it also helps energy and attitude. You know, when you feel good, it radiates out of you, and that's kind of important. So, you know, we can talk about, but I'm not going to go into too much detail because there's so many magazines and articles out there already about your clothing and accessories. It may depend on your actual role. Are you working behind a desk? Are you in a lab? Are you in the field? What kind of protective gear might you have to be wearing? As a lab tech, I wore a face shield, goggles, gloves, and a lab coat, pants, and closed shoes. There wasn't really much opportunity to look cute. So whenever I actually got all dressed up, and there was a photo of me on Facebook, everyone would tease me and say, oh, you clean up pretty good. Thanks, I think. They just assume that, you know, because I work in that environment, what happens, of course, is that that's the image I portray to them all the time. And my friends, they see a completely different image of me. And they may not take me seriously because they never see that professional side that I use at work. Because I let my guard down, I let my hair down, so to speak, with my friends at home. So make sure that your clothing is saying what you want them to say. It's not distracting. You may want to check with whatever dress code is appropriate for whatever position you're working at in whatever company. There are rules, some are more stringent than others, but you know, bear in mind that they're set there for a reason. Now, if you feel like your clothes are not projecting the right image, I would say get your favorite outfits together and have a couple of friends help you kind of pick out what really works for you. And if need to, you know, there are personal shoppers out there. They can really assist you if you have a particular goal that you're trying to meet. They can help you focus on that. And it is a worthwhile investment because once you figure it out for yourself, you probably won't need them again. So briefly, I'd like to address the pesky 6 inches between your ears. Your mind is a terrible place to spend too much time in those dark corners. I highly recommend getting in and getting out. Don't overthink, but it's important to think. This is especially important before any big event that you're going to. And as you're getting ready and you're driving there, you want to be thinking about the people you want to meet, the connections you want to make, what kind of interactions you want to have. This even applies to going to work every day. And it can be an incredibly grounding experience and works very well if you focus on the kind of energy you want to have at that event or situation. And it might seem a little dramatic, but I have a daily affirmation. I won't share it with you right now, but I do have one. And every morning when I get up, I take a moment to not only be thankful that I woke up, but what was it that I'm focused on? Am I focused on meeting new clients? Am I focused on broadening my professional network? Am I focused on teaching my teammates and inspiring them and giving them vision? And so in the morning, that's the thing I focus on. So it's the first thing I do when I get out of bed. It's positive. It sort of sets you off on the right foot altogether. And you don't want to focus on the negative stuff. I mean, you know, you have a bad day, you're driving in traffic, the weather changes on you, you're in the wrong shoes, and you notice that your attitude just kind of plummets after that. It just doesn't get any better. So you really need to be able to pull yourself out of that downward spiral. Focus on what you can control, not what you can't. And you'll probably be a lot better off. And one of those things, of course, is your attitude. I've been taught that your attitude determines your altitude. Basically, you know, if you want to be successful and accomplished, you need to have your head in the right place. If you're distracted, if you're negative, guess what? That's what's going to happen to you. There's a theory called the law of attraction. There's lots of different names for it, lots of books out there about it. But one of the things that I found was very important is it's what you put out, it's what you're going to get back. It's sort of like a mirror, it reflects back to you. So if you say, oh, great, you know, my day's going horribly, guess what? It's going to keep going horribly because you set your mind up for that. If you're nervous about a job interview, and you focus on that one thing that didn't quite go right, and you keep thinking about it, the person who's interviewing you is going to be reading that right off of you, and may change their thoughts on whether they were going to go ahead and hire you or not, because you're not showing confidence, or you're not showing that something that sets you apart from the other interviewees. So you want to make sure you examine that attitude, and do you smile when you say hi to your friends and you encounter people? Are you, focusing on giving that person your undivided attention? And if not, it could be potentially harming your professional image, and this is particularly important in the workplace, where you see everyone every day and you've kind of gotten used to them, and perhaps you've taken them a little bit for granted. Hopefully not, but I was hoping that you would understand this. You may or may not. Have you ever heard the phrase, what's in it for me, or it's all about me? You may or may not have heard it, but that is a phrase used a lot in my industry. We have to remember when we meet with a client that there's a sign right over our heads that says, make me feel important. And my job is to find out what her needs are, help her troubleshoot them, and make sure that she leaves feeling better than when she first met me. It really isn't about a sale, the lipstick, the cleanser and moisturizer. I'm really there to make people feel good, because what happens when they feel good and they're confident? They're going to tell their friends, and they're going to share me with them. So for me, it behooves me not just to sit there and make that one-time deal, one-time sale. It really makes sense for me as a professional to show her that I'm really focused on her, that it's just me and her in the room. I don't care if there's 30 other people in the room, that she knows I am here for her, and that she can ask me whatever she needs to, and that she's going to take whatever I say. I'm authority on what I say because I've done the homework, I know what I'm talking about, and that, I want her to succeed. I want her to feel good. Makeup's great for adorning your natural beauty, but let's just start with the beginning and the core. That's kind of what I do in my profession. And so make sure that you truly are engaged and interested in what you're talking to the person about. Be interesting. I know that might seem hard. You may not feel like you have anything special, but everyone's unique. Find out what that special talent of yours is and post, not brag, but just make sure it's out there where people can see it. Are you a great speaker? Are you a great singer? You have beautiful handwriting. You're excellent on such and such a video game. I know it sounds a little silly, but you have to have a life outside of work. And people will be drawn to you if they know that you're interesting and you're fun and that you're intelligent and respectful. Those are qualities people want to have, and that's, of course, what they want to give. And, of course, practice makes perfect. You should know what you want to convey well enough that, God forbid, your cue cards get scattered all over the room, your PowerPoint presentation doesn't work, or the printer decides to jam, that you can go, if you have to, off the cuff and continue without. Know your audience. It may sound silly, but truly, you have to take a few seconds to do that. Sometimes word choice is just as important as the message. I mean, if you're speaking to peers in the office, you're going to talk completely differently than you would with your friends at the bar on Friday night. Trust me, I know you will. And, your presentation, if it's printed or distributed, please make sure you spell check it. I know that sounds minor, but it really can take your resume, for example, down a notch.